Hey, welcome everybody.
You got some feedback. That must mean you're double excited, Dave Cooper Live.
Oh, it might give me 1 second.
Happy BS Fridays to everyone. How's my audio? Give a thumbs up in the chat if the audio is good from my microphone and wait for Dave's.
Yeah. All right. How about now? Can you hear me now?
Nice job, Dave.
Love it. So I'm still getting some feedback here. I'm going to kick one of these out. I'm having some issues. And you hear me loud and clear now?
So sometimes, Dave, our technology is caught up with a little bit of BS of its own. So no sweat, my friend.
You carry away, Mark.
Okay, all good. Dave, we have a friend joining us tonight to give an intro. Are they in the fish tank?
They are in the fish tank.
Let's bring them in and get this party started. For everyone who hasn't been here today, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and some other funny thing that I can't pronounce, maybe Twitching. And all the way from British Columbia via the helicopter, the boat, and all points in between is Mr. Frosty himself, Sean. Say no more. Welcome, my friend.
How you guys doing today? Great to be on. Great to give an intro to this amazing individual that you have get to chat with today. So thank you for having me.
Sean, remind everyone who you are if there's one or two people out there that haven't met you yet.
Sean Sainamore, product consultant with 475, high performance building supply. Love Passive House. Can't talk enough about it, and involved with the Passive House Accelerator. And even Mark, you and I even do a show every Tuesday. So, there's lots of good stuff going on. Can't get enough.
Sean, you look rather dapper today. I could picture Dave wearing the same suit. It's perfect.
Well, we've haven't had such a great year, and I usually, kind of bring it out like next week. But I figured, you know what, we need to celebrate more and have some more, fun in our lives. And of course, that's fun with a PH, right, Mark? And so I thought I'd, bring a little holiday cheer to the show today.
And for a correction on the suit you're wearing, it's Frosty with a PH.
Of course it is. Indeed it is. And guys, you always, bug me about the helicopters. And I have to say, I was talking to Santa Claus about upgrading the village. So I've been dealing with more of the sleds in the last couple of weeks, not the helicopter. So we're changing transportation. The Christmas village up in the North Pole needs to get retrofitted to high performance standards. So I've been talking to them about the 5 Pascal's principles, and they're looking at adding more sweaters to all their houses. And even the deer, even the reindeer want to put a sweater on because they like the concept so much.
So people from the south side of now the North American border, we have a thing called a snowmobile, and the sleds on the north side are called a snow machine, and we have to learn from Frosty, and nice cup. We have to learn from Frosty and Santa Claus, because they always wear a hat and a scarf, and they understand building science. That's why they do that. Are you back, Dave? Oh no. So while Dave works that out, Sean, can you kick us off and tell us about our guest today, brother?
Incredible individual coming on today. One of the hardest working individuals that I know. RDH is extremely lucky to have this talented individual. This year alone, she's been working on 2 massive Passive House projects. These dorms are really complex. First in North America, I believe. In Canada at least. And the details that they and her and the team have had to figure out to make this work is really impressive. And she is a leader in our industry, and she's also a lot of fun too. So, in her spare time, she's teaching Passive House across Canada and even, across the pond in UK. I don't quite get how she does it. She must have a helicopter of her own to get her back over and be able to do things. An early adopter to Passive House. And even too, she not only just does it with RDH, but she also certifies. So certifies means that you not only are potentially working with a design team in Passive House, but once another team has done all the work and they're like, okay, happy, let's go get our plaque, they'll send the documentation over her to review and to make sure that the modeling is done correctly. So very impressive person, hardworking, and a lot of fun too. So you guys enjoy the show with her. And
can you hear me, Sean?
Yeah, I can hear you, Dave.
All right, listen. I'm glad. My computer was set up for several monitors, and when I switched my screens for our demonstration today, it all disappeared. I couldn't find myself. So welcome, everybody. This is great. Mark, Sean, you guys did a great job. Yeah, you're right. We're going to have Marine Sanchez on. And did you bring your helicopter today, Sean?
No, it's I had to send it back. It's too expensive, right? It's $180 a minute. It's too expensive.
It's outside of your realm. It's outside of your realm.
Yeah.
Listen, thanks for putting up with my my tech difficulties. You guys are two natural pros. Hey, do you know that the person we have coming on today is French? Did you know that?
Je parle un peu. Oui.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, listen, Sean, thanks so much for joining us today and helping us out, starting this show off. Have a wonderful holiday. If we don't talk, Merry Christmas,
Absolutely.
Happy New Year's, and everything else to you.
Great year, and love what you guys do. Thanks for making Friday so fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Brother.
All right. We're going to bring Marine in and we're going to take Sean out. We'll see you, Sean. Bye now. All right. Talking about working on the fly today. I told you, Marine, when we were talking, if it can go wrong live, it will go wrong. You just got to roll with it. And here we are. So, Marine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. And Sean, thank you for the lovely introduction. You're going to make me blush.
Oh, look at that.
I love that I get you in a suit today. I have to say, I particularly enjoy that one. So I like the effort.
Where do you think he shops at? Like, how does somebody go out and find a Santa or snowman or Santa Claus suit?
I have a lot of answers, but that's one that I do not have.
Well, there's got to be some building science behind this.
It's interesting. 475 represents a lot of brands, and I believe they have a suit company that they represent. It's called Saint Amour, and there's really stylish company.
Saint, yeah, I got it. Next thing you know, he's gonna be flying in with a banner behind his plane. All right, let's not make his head too big. All right, Marine, this is all about you today. We want to know everything about you. I want to know everything from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Do not leave anything out from the hospital, or we will call your parents. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, look, like maybe just giving a little bit of background of why, I ended up right here, right now. I've always loved like searching for solutions, and I loved the collaboration, working on stuff with other people. So, studied like everybody else in France, so that's why I'm French. So started studying a bit of everything, discovered the field of engineering where you literally get to find a solution. That's your job. So I know I wanted to do something around there, but I didn't quite know why. So I started touching a little bit of everything. This is where I got my first master's in engineering, where you get to literally touch a little bit of everything, such as, fluid dynamics and structural and even machine work, coding, which, by the way, I was terrible at. And everything, to finally realize that I needed to find something between that engineering discipline, the architectural discipline, but I didn't want to go back and study for another 7 years of architecture. I was like, I'm sure I can find a way in there without doing all of that. And sustainability, because that has always been, really close to my heart. So I looked at that triangle and found another master's. So I did my second master's in the UK, where I stayed for the next 10 years after graduating to work on sustainable buildings. So you're going to say, oh, great, you've found your calling. It was all good, easy from there. And it wasn't quite like that. I had an amazing time at university, really interesting, learned a lot of things. And funnily enough, everything was working just perfectly. You have a blank piece of paper, everything adds up, lovely. And I landed my first job. And this is where I realized that there are a lot of lies in there, and that when you actually work with building, there's a lot of things that don't work. So I started learning about this performance gap, which is what we call the difference between the predicted energy consumption that buildings should use and their actual energy consumption when you go back a year or two later and grab meter readings and see how they performed. And learning that there was that gigantic performance gap where literally buildings on average, at least in the UK, were using 1.5 to 3 times more what they were supposed to do. I just threw my arms up in the air. I was like, I am not going to fall for this. This is physics. This hasn't changed for like a really long time. And I think we're clever enough to have this figured out. So started my quest. And this is where I encountered Passive House, and I never quite made it back ever from there.
Oh, so there you have, you found your calling. No, I'm just kidding. I love it. Hey, go ahead, Mark.
No,
Mark,
I was going to say the intro was the best intro we've ever had. You were completely genuine, and that explanation of what we learn and how we implore ourselves into that pocket, and then have a realization that this is not a reality, and then you decided you were going to dive deeper and unfold that package and realize where the holes were and how to build a better package. And all of us can see that, and we could tell that you took a leadership role in that stance, and that other people can find that in their own lives and create that same trail in their quest forward. So tip my hat to you. Very inspirationally said. And you're living the dream right now, right? You're unpocketing these sequences so that the modeling and the certification is in union.
Yeah.
Well, it's that thing where, we talk about climate change, we talk about climate emergencies, and we're seeing a lot of really good intent, and I'm happy to see that. But as you can see, I'm pretty passionate about this. I feel that if I'm writing the best reports in the world, they mean nothing if they don't get implemented on site. So you have to follow through all the way to construction, because, the planet doesn't care about your good intentions. Like, we have to deliver. And it was that missing link, between the design and the delivery that just I have to say, I was pretty upset after my finishing my studies, because I was like, I've studied for like almost 20 years straight, and still I've been sold like, what was all that for? And so finding that solution, and I'm sure it's not the only solution, but this solution is a solution that has a proven track record of like almost 3 decades, and it is one of the solutions that we have to implement for climate emergency. So now I'm like, we've got to do this. It's not an option. It's doable. Let me just show you the way. So it's not easy every day, but I am living the dream, because, I cut my teeth on really tough projects, actually, because they were tiny, and also they were retrofits. So I started literally by the most difficult part, deep passive house retrofits, and then I'm like, okay, I figured that out. I started doing new build. I thought it was easy, because every time I would ask, rather than hearing like, no, Maureen, you can't do that. No, you can't shift that. No, they would be like, yeah, okay, you got it. And I was like, wait, what? Yeah, I get it. Oh, okay, cool.
There's absolutely no passion here whatsoever, Mark. I don't know. I think
nothing
we
at
need to
all.
move on to the next guest. I don't think she likes what she does or believes in anything she's saying whatsoever. All right, Maureen. So I'm going to put a couple comments up just because they're relevant to what you've already been saying. And then we're going to jump into this, right? Because you've done some smaller projects, as you said, cut your teeth in the industry, so to speak. But you have moved on to some massive projects. You've moved on to some buildings that output serious energy, that really needs what you do, the energy efficiency, the passive house design, the healthier breathing, living purpose of everything that we do. And we're going to jump into that. But I think let's first go to a couple comments here. So with that said, Scott Fardman. What's happening, Scott? Human behavior is not physics. One of the biggest drivers for the performance gap in my experience. Love it.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead. You want to say something?
Yeah, is that okay? So
I don't think I have a choice. You go for it. It's your show. It's not my show.
Thank you, Dave. No, so this is okay. This is totally true. And we will never be able to predict exactly human behavior. But the fact is, when we work with such high performance buildings, occupants are not able as much to break your buildings. So when you look at a multifamily residential buildings with like 50, 100, 300 units, you're still going to find, when you look at every single apartment, every single suite, you're going to find that guy that just loves to, like, you know, move around his apartments in boxer shorts, no matter which day of the year it is, and having the heating at 23 because that's what he's comfortable with. And you're still going to have the other person that has, you know, 5 cats and lives with, you know, with a sweater and is not, you know, wanting to turn the heating on ever, right? So if you look at these two, these apartments will have a different energy consumption, but when you bring it all back together, because the enclosure is so good, your occupants, I'm not going to say in every single case, but usually they actually cannot break your building's performance as much as a less performing building can. So we can actually bypass that, which I think pretty cool as well.
So you're saying that by building the building using the science, you can break human behavioral differences within the building? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, you can minimize to a really low amount how much the occupants are going to drive your energy consumption up or down.
Right. Absolutely. Got it.
One of your colleagues the other night, I think you know him, his name is Monty Paulson, right?
Let me think.
He was commenting on Scott Kennedy's review of a building a year after it was commissioned or certified, and they were discussing the internal heat gains. And Monty brought up an epic comment, and he said, there's times when one can open the window and they choose not to because the noise pollution on the exterior is so big that they don't allow the warm air out and the fresh air in. And so those are interesting circumstances where the occupant has an easy access with no energy to change the movement, and they cannot do it because the surrounding area is just polluted with noise. But when the window's closed, it's not polluted with noise because the windows are so incredible that it cuts down the sound.
Yeah, exactly. So I still think it's on us to think, as designers, to think about all the different conditions that the occupants might face, because it's not enough just to say, here's your building. You need to think, like I've worked a lot on social housing in the UK, so you need to think about security, noise, like absolutely everything, you know, people being scared of whatever it is through a window open. But at the same time, even if you thought they might use the building in a certain way, if they don't, you don't end up with, you know, energy bills that are like significantly different. You're like, you know what? Then even if you keep the window open, closed when you were supposed to open it to have a bit more natural cooling rather than active cooling, it's okay. We can deal with it. You're not like putting the planet on fire, which is, it is good. This is what we want, you know?
Well, I mean, that's really it, though. I mean, you got to work with human behavior. I mean, the reality of it is we're not going to control everything, you know, and heck yeah, I want to open my windows sometimes. It's just, you just want that air, right? Sometimes, you know, I know when I sit in my studio all the time, my kids and everybody walk in like, God, it's so hot and stinks in here, you know, because you got the lights going. You want to open the windows. All right, let's do a couple more comments real quick. But we had a little tech issue in the beginning. So listen, everybody, if you are just joining us, it is Building Science Friday, the Friday before Christmas. So we are here. Please hit that like and share button right now. We are live on 4 locations: LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and guess where else, Mark?
Twitch or something goofy like that.
It is. It's Twitch, and it is goofy. But guess what, Mark? Guess who's on Twitch?
Michael Jordan.
The young people. The young people are on Twitch, and we need more young people in our building industry, and we need smart young people. They're gaming and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So I don't get a whole lot of love there yet, but I'm waiting. It'll come. It takes time in these scenarios. So with that said,
my tech-minded self went on Twitch to see what it was all about, and no one was helping me with how to run away from the ghosts on Pac-Man. There wasn't a Pac-Man thing on Twitch. I think these people are really dated, and they need to get their gaming up.
Oh yeah, right. Oh man, they do all kinds of fun stuff on Twitch. If you don't know Twitch, you got to check it out. You will never think of your kids playing video games the same. It's absolutely amazing what they're doing. All right, so with that said, we are moving on to Maureen Sanchez is with us, and we're talking about Passive House. We're talking about the environment. We're talking about passion, and we are talking about it from Canada, French, and here in the United States. And Maureen is now going to jump into these buildings that are not single family homes. These are huge buildings that you are incorporating these designs into. And I think that's really what's going to be a powerful part of this conversation. So go ahead and take it away, Maureen.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Yeah, so these are my, as I call them, my beasts that I've been taming for the last couple of years. So let's start with the Uvic Residence. This is the other one.
Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, sorry about that. So Uvic, the Uvic Residence, literally, as Mark said, like I started handling bigger projects, and I was given this project like literally a week before I even started my new job at RDH, so that was fun. Dave, a few more slides. You on the one with the big blue sky? No, not yet. Mind you, they all have blue skies. That's the one I like. Okay, so this is the Uvic Residence, and I started this journey. We joined the team in SD to start doing feasibility studies and understanding, if it was possible to do Passive House on these buildings. What are you looking at? You're looking at building 1 to the left that we see a bit closer, and building 2 to the right, which is hidden behind the trees, and together they form the first residence, the much bigger residence on campus for this one, housing about like 800 beds, more or less, plus a lot of communal space where there is an indigenous lounge. There's a lot of communal spaces. There are teaching theaters, and there's also a massive commercial kitchen with a 600 sitting, a 600 seat dining hall. And this kitchen is trying to spit out 9,000 meals a day to feed campus. And everybody told me, and you get to make it a Passive House that uses that much. And I'm like, I am up for the challenge. So there's been a lot of, late nights and the brain melting a bit, like escaping from the side. But we have learned so much on this building. It's been, for me, it is so thrilling to figure out a new archetype, to start seeing what are the key levers that have an impact on your design and on your energy consumption, to get to understand them, to understand what you need to do about them, like what approaches, what strategies work the best and have the most impact, so that then I can literally just share that with everybody else and say, okay, guys, like from now on, I think that we've figured it out. Like every single university student housing, even if it has complicated stuff inside, because we already knew that the simple student housing could be Passive House. It's more or less, a slightly tighter, cozier multifamily building. But these ones, even with tough stuff inside, we still have found a recipe that seems to work. And getting to share that and thinking that there's so many universities across Canada and across the States that are building buildings and that will need to operate them for the next 50 years to be able to give a good indoor environment to occupants, because we're about health and indoor equality and comfort, and to know that these buildings are future-proof against any extreme events that are starting to happen more and more in summer and in winter, as well as future-proofed against future climates. I think that this, to me, it's like this is the investment that you want to make. Right.
So go ahead, Mark.
It's baffling. 9,000 meals, 600 people. One would have to expect that the moisture levels and the CO2 levels, all before the visitors come to eat, just from the kitchen staff and the cooking alone, is an extremely high number. So there was a process you used to evaluate what you might expect. There was a process you used to curtail it when the event happened. And then there's a process you use to monitor, censor, certify that. Can you dive deep?
Sure. How many hours do you have?
Oh, you got about 20 minutes. No
okay.
problem.
No. So actually, so funny. No, I was just digesting your comment, Mark, because this is such a good point. But the truth is that it is not as hard to control. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's not as hard as you think, because similarly to the approach that we have in Passive House on the enclosure to make it much better, you know, you're thinking, like, I'm going to do this analogy. I feel like you're thinking about this gigantic kitchen as if it's, you know, a typical building with a typical space heating demand. But it's not that complicated. It's like the Passive House for kitchens. It's like you've made so much good. No, but it is. I think I'm sorry. And I just got like a light bulb popping up right now. I'm like, ta-da! I should have seen that coming. But you've worked, like with Passive Houses, you work so hard on the enclosure that your heating demand becomes almost nothing. And it becomes simple to provide it because you get a lot of opportunities. This kitchen, as much as it is a beast and, you know, it's complicated to figure out, we've worked so hard and we've left no stone unturned to look at every single piece of that kitchen. But at the end, it performs in such a way that I don't think that the way of controlling it is fundamentally much more difficult than, like, you know what I mean? We've made it simpler. So we are working with, you know, induction equipments to reduce internal heat gain. So the staff has a better comfort. You don't have to exhaust as much. We have played with the, like, I could go on forever, but we've used a lot of things to kind of first reduce the kitchen energy demand and improve the kitchen environment so that you don't have to deal with as much. Every equipment is, sorry, go for it.
Hey, I have a question. All right. So I hear what you're saying as far as the ventilation and what you're doing. And we got some people that are asking about the mechanicals in the comments. We're going to get to that too.
Yeah.
You know, but for somebody like myself, when I see a single family home, it really seems simplified on how you get to a passive house design when after all these conversations. It's not simple, but there's just some common sense approaches that one takes to really do this.
Yeah.
When I see a building of this size, how do you tackle that? You know, like, where do you start? Like, you say, all right, well, that's great. You know, the university wants, you know, to serve 9,000 meals and have 800 beds and this and that. I mean, my brain just starts melting with the amount of data and spreadsheets one would have to think of. So when you design a building like this, you know, just for the audience, like, how do you start? Like, what is the first thing that you would think about? Because all these first things lead to all these other questions that are coming in the comments, and to include like Mark's question about ventilation, it seems very overwhelming.
Maureen, I'm going to let you think of the exact answer for that. And I'm going to give Dave a shortcut to why it is a practical application. So again, passive house is for buildings, not for houses, and it is inclusive of houses. But one of the strategies that makes it so practical is you're inclusive of the volume of air. And so in these large buildings, there's much more volume. And so the ratio of wall to space is in your favor in this application. And so when they as Maureen mentioned, when they control the assembly, right, and they're limiting the energy in and out and the energy needed, now those next levels are there. And for those who didn't catch it, she used the word I just blanked on it, induction. And so what that is letting us learn is this is a gas-free kitchen. If I heard this correct, it's an all-electric building. So the combustion in there is not happening, which makes it a lot easier to maintain.
Yeah. So I get that. So it's really the same concept. You really have to focus on the envelope of this building in a large way. You have to focus on the direction of the sun. That's what I was getting to, Mark, right? Because we're really good at talking to each other, but we're not really good at talking to the people that are just trying to figure this stuff out. And I think that's kind of where I'm getting at. It's the same concepts on a building of this size as it is on a single family home. And it really comes down to the basic principles that you guys keep talking about.
Exactly. I see Marcus giving you a thumbs up. Okay, I'm just going to add one little thing. So actually, Dave, you're completely right, because I was just, thinking about it in my head, and it's exactly the answer I would have said. You cannot shy away from having a great enclosure, right? We're working with like really good walls, really good roof, really good floors, almost no thermal bridging, like we're looking at every single detail. However, what you start seeing when you do that shift between the small to medium scale all the way to large scale is that the mechanical becomes more complicated. It doesn't mean that you cannot do it, but it's not just, oh, it's a single family house. I just need an HRV here. I need a little bit of domestic hot water and I'm good to go. Like it's not just like the simple no brainer. You need a little bit. Here's how you get it. You're all good. So you have to start with a great enclosure, but on building that size, it is the mechanical that will make you sway more. What Mark just said is exactly that. On single family houses, the enclosure will make your model sway a bit more, and therefore your energy consumption. On these big building, you're kind of shifting that around, which means that you need a really, really good understanding about everything. So for sure, you have to deal with more details and more spreadsheets, which is where I thrive, but all in all, it's still the same concept, because you're reducing your energy demand to start with, and then you're trying to meet it in the most efficient way, which again, as much as Uvic, and UTSC, if you have a residence in Toronto, as much as these buildings are complicated per se because of the sheer size that they have, they are actually simpler than the exact same building that would not be designed to passive house.
Gotta love it. All right, perfect. I mean, simpler, like you just wouldn't think simpler when you look at these large buildings. Let's hop into Sean's in the background. Gotta love spreadsheets. What's the matter with that guy? Don't worry, Sean.
I need a mug that says "I love spreadsheet." I'm telling you, this is long overdue.
Oh it just causes me angina, or whatever they call it. All right, let's get the comments before I get myself tongue-tied and in trouble with my words here. I want to say hi to a few people, and then we're going to jump into some of these other projects that you're working on as well. All right. But I do think the audience spends time with us. Let's spend time with them. Anup Rathi, hey, thank you for joining us today. We love it. Love it. Love it. Al, how you doing, Al? Happy BS Friday to you guys and girls. All right. Jennifer says to Sean, Merry Festive, Sean. Bring on Christmas spirit. Scott Farman also, happy holidays to BS Friday. Thank you very much. John Yaworski, how's it going, John? Thank you so much. Great story. So we got people listening here. All right, we did this one already. We got Ian Roberts. Scott Farman's next in line, nominal versus effective. And this one is for you from Scott. For Marine, the performance gap is such a big motivator for us to get things right. To what degree do you see human behavior being the main impactor and not actual physics?
Wow.
That's a tough question.
That's why you're on, Marine. You can handle the tough questions. We love it.
Yeah. Well, okay. To be fair, I genuinely believe that if we deliver higher, better, more highly performing buildings, I actually don't think that the human behavior will be the main impactor. I genuinely believe that we have to build buildings right to start with, to give that comfort, that decent level and comfortable level of quality into all the buildings that are shelters before we moved down to occupants' behavior. Like, it will still have an impact, but it's not fully with buildings, right? With the operation of buildings, it is not human behavior that will be our savior.
Interesting.
It will be for everything else. It's all about the people, right? We need to get together. And to be fair, okay, I'm gonna throw a little something in there.
Love it.
human behavior, I believe right now, is potentially one of the toughest constraints to delivering high performance buildings, because we do have the technology, we do have the knowledge, we do have the expertise. And what is really, really, really tough to change is to change the way people are approaching these buildings, approaching this design process. We need to stop working in silo. We need to work together. This is about that team integration. And when you keep hearing every single time, oh, but that's the way we've done it for the last 30 years, that is what we need to change. We just need to agree that what we've been doing, as much as it does create some buildings that are not highly performing, it doesn't work. Like, we're running straight into the wall in terms of our climate change, right? So agreeing that that doesn't work and agreeing that we need to change and talking about small incremental change is not okay anymore. No, honestly, I'm gonna, okay, you're gonna shout at me a bit there.
Soapbox, soapbox, soapbox.
Yeah. When I studied in university, which means that I was, technically an adult, I had a professor that, taught me about that performance gap. And he had been saying the exact same message since before I was born. And that I don't accept, because we can't just thank you, David. Better. Yeah, no, but this is we don't have time anymore for incremental changes. So we got to change almost everything, and we've got to do it now, and we've got to go all the way. So, rant over.
Love it. Well, hey, guess what? You're going to keep ranting on this next one, because Harvey Minuk says, how do you change residents' behavior? I have an answer for this one, by the way.
There's
Go for it, Dave.
That was just on Doug Farr, and this is not with mechanical air. This is about people's behavior. So in a super large commercial building, what they did is they hid the elevator and they made an extremely large, all wood with sitting area, sexy staircase, and people commingle and they use the stairs. And then in the small building that they had, they also hid the elevator, but they designed it to be the slowest elevator in the world so that people would be annoyed and not have to use it. It still worked for anyone with with an injury or a disability, the great purpose of an elevator. But there's things we could do. And again, we don't want to push people to being uncomfortable, but we could do slight reminders. I would love it to see timers on showers in colleges so that the hot water goes off, and that's it. The hot water goes off. You knew it was coming, and it's off.
Well,
He'd be the most hated man in the world, I think.
Yeah, I'm not from this school of thought. I don't think I would be quite as mean. I'm not yet guilty of specking the slowest elevator, though I actually do like the idea. I genuinely think, okay, I'm gonna take it out of occupants' behavior, but I'm gonna, we were talking about changing human behavior, and I was talking about, the design team, but I'm gonna take this actually to site. Okay, I've talked before about the fact that reports don't help climate change. It's delivering high performance buildings that actually make an impact and avoid us keep on locking carbon away in these bad buildings. So I need my site team to step up and deliver what has been designed by the design team. And again, people can say, well, they've never done it this way. They'll never listen to you, get you, you're, tiny, you're young, you're a woman, we don't even know what your role is because it's new, it's confusing. And more or less, I can, I've had it all. But you can find success when you can show to the people that are working with you what is your end goal. And you don't have to go incredibly technical, and they don't have to see the spreadsheets. I promise I'm being nice. But honestly, when you explain to them what you're after, they will listen and they will step up. So if you can do that, like, I want to share just a small anecdote, which is literally one of my happiest moments on site. And I've had my share of moments of, like, Polish builders that are twice as high as, as tall as me, being like, she doesn't know, like, we've always done it this way, just keep doing it this way. And I'm like, no. So on the opposite side, happiest moment where we were doing an air tightness test on one of the largest passive house and certified multi-residential building in London, in the UK, before I moved to Canada. And we had to do it at the weekend because, of course, we need to close everything. The trades can't quite go freely and stuff. So totally trying to be respectful and not, delay the schedule. We went at the weekend. And when on the Monday morning, I was back on site because I was working from the trailer to support the team, my crane operator literally shouted at me saying, Maureen, did we pass? Did we pass? And I'm like, it's not your job to care. Like, you shouldn't ask for this, and yet you're here and you're asking because you bought into it, because you understand what we're trying to get to. So, Mark, I would try to explain to people.
Well, it's really a
nicer
culture change, right? I think it comes down to people's culture, their mindset, and having an understanding of what it's about is what helps it change. Go ahead, Mark. Mark's going to say something. I can tell the look on his face.
No, I'm saying if a crane operator cares that the modeling and certification is precise, because a crane operator is precise. There's
true.
If they care, so can you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Because they come and go. That's a lot of the trades, right? I think you're absolutely right. But I think that's where the cultural change, that's where buying into what you're doing, right? Yeah. It's the old saying, people buy what you believe, not what you do, right? Simon Sinek. What did Simon Sinek had that quote? People buy why you do it, not why you do it, not what you do, or something. I can't remember the name. Somebody out there will put it in the comments.
I went to high school with Simon. He said a lot of things. I don't remember that one.
All right, we're going to move on. Listen, I told you it's going to be the fastest hour of your life. We're already at 45 minutes. We got to get through some comments because I have a feeling we can go on and on and on and on and on about this. And we got some other buildings we want to show. So why don't we keep rocking and rolling? Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. So getting back, we kind of talked about residents' behavior already with Harvey Munich, right? And people getting involved. And I think that's more of a cultural shift. And as more people buy into it and have a conversation about it, then other people are going to buy into it. And that was kind of where I was going with that. All right. We also have Harvey asked, how was the building mechanically ventilated?
Okay, so really good question. And like with every passive house, we are working with ventilation with heat recovery. So in this case, we're working with actually ERVs, not HRVs. So they're, recovering energy, not just heat transferred from one stream to the other. And that allows us to literally recover the waste heat from the stale air that is going outside and to give it for free to preheat the incoming fresh air that is actually really cold. So we end up ventilating, I was going to say a lot, we're ventilating to at least the minimum to give everybody a good indoor air quality. And yet we're paying in terms of energy costs for very little of that. And so we have incredibly energy efficient HRVs, ERVs for the residential parts. And we have something that is a bit more tricky to implement, but we still have it on the kitchen side of things. Because as always, recovering the waste heat where it is to pay, to preheat either the air or domestic hot water, which we use throughout the year for free from the waste heat that would normally get dumped outside, is definitely the right way to move on these buildings.
Love it. Love it.
Is any of that waste heat also used as a supplement to the water heating?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. So for Uvic, we have shower drain heat recovery. So see, timer or no timer, we're still recovering whatever gets used. We also have, so for example, really good example as well of one of the approaches to help this kitchen be more energy efficient. You have a lot of walk-in fridges and freezers, right? It's a big kitchen. It needs all of that storage space. And all that, to keep the fridges and freezers cool, you're actually creating a lot of heat. And by dumping the heat in the same place, this goes directly to preheating like most of the hot water that we need to actually cook these meals. So by looking at it, like by having a holistic approach to the building, you can start seeing where your waste heat is and understand with your mechanical engineer how to transfer from one to the other. So we're having, like you can end up with really low energy consumption, really low EUIs on these buildings once you've looked at every single approach to reusing waste heat.
I love what you said there, because wherever we have the cooling and freezing of those units, 6 feet away, we have a faucet that needs to be hot. And it's baffled me forever why our fridge and freezer companies are not making water heaters.
Yeah.
It is crazy. And the same people I know, Maureen, and like, they hear me say that, and they're like, I didn't expect that from a carpenter.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep rocking and rolling here. All right, Harvey Minnook. I think, am I saying it right now? He lit me up in the comments, not saying his name right. So I'm going to try it here. I think it's Minnook. Minnook. I don't know. M-I-N-U-K. How do you say it, guys?
I'm glad you're here, Harvey. You have the best comments. Usually 4 days a week. I see you, brother.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Another one from Harvey. More of a comment. He said we need to bring in B.F. Skinner to use positive reinforcement for residents to understand how to live in PH buildings. Who understands that one? No?
No idea what B.F. Skinner is. Sorry.
We'll come back to it. I'm sure Harvey will put it in the comments. Please do, Harvey. We are appreciative that you are here. And I am going to work hard to get this name right. I hate when I mess people's names up, but it's hard. All right.
No, so yeah, I waved the first time because I was in my second master's back at Oxford University together. So I'm really happy to get to reconnect on different continents with people. So it's pretty nice to see who's out there. So
awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Maureen and myself were together in Oxford. Brooks in the UK for a master's. Maureen, do you remember? She does. Didn't have touchscreen then. This is the great thing. And I read it out loud because not everybody on all the platforms we're on can see the questions that come up.
I see.
That's why I read them out loud. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. We got Buzz Holitzer joining us today. BS, what's happening, Buzz? I hope you are well. We have Dr. Amar. Well said, Maureen. Love it. Craig Campbell, agree. It's the same with traditional buildings, no modern methods, SIPS building, etc. Was he talking? I guess he was commenting on one of the things you said earlier. Harvey says, like a button at a crosswalk, take away the control. I think this is going back to the elevators and those things. Moving. All right, so there we have it. We got into the comments. Let's get back into these other designs. We have about 9 minutes. Let's rock and roll. What do you think?
Okay, so let's try to talk a little bit about UTSC. So this is the University of Toronto Scarborough one.
Going back to it. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. Perfect. So this is another student residence that I'm working. And so I'm pretty excited about this one as well, because I'm actually supporting the design build team to get this out of the ground. So I'm not just here handing a design. I'm here on site to say, this is what needs to be built, because I'm the one taking it to the finish line, rather than we got the design from another team and that we're the one driving it home, which to me is, again, the most exciting part. Mark, I might regret saying that in the middle of winter when I'm going to start being on site a bit more, because I'm not really Canadian gear, ready, but I'll work on that. No, same thing again. So Dave, if you can pass like another slide to see the different views, because they're pretty cool. Yeah. So you can see, again, 9-story building with, again, a level 1 podium, which is really for people to come together, large sitting area with dining. So a bit of a smaller meal count on this one, probably 2,500 meals a day, which is still enough for a little melt brain. But again, on top, you can see that kind of U-shaped tower, which is, again, housing around 800 student beds as well.
What is the cubic square meter differential on this? What is the volume that we're expecting internal space?
The square meter or the volume?
Volume.
I'd have to do a quick count on that, Mark. I'm sorry. I do keep a lot of figures in my head, but not.
Just give me the square meter, and I'll add in the expected heights.
So yeah, so for UTSC, I think we were around like 25,000 square meter.
Wow.
It was slightly higher. Like, yeah. And what you can expect is roughly you get a 3 meter height on the tower part, and then you get like 4 or 5 meters on the common parts because they're more generous, and it's about that idea of bringing people together. So a bit more spacious.
I want to say, while we're diving into the scientific thing, the other thing that you'll experience is people will walk up to this building. I'm just speaking for others because I like to do that. People will walk up to this building and be attracted to it. And once they're attracted to it, they'll find their way inside, and then they'll get to experience it. And once they experience it, it won't be like another building. And then it's their job to go to other people and say, holy crap, that was incredible. And it happens to be a passive house.
Yeah, I agree. It's again and again and again, as much as we can sell, and I don't really like that term, but there's nothing comparing to occupants going into a passive house building and literally not understanding why and feeling that quality, that comfort, especially in the middle of winter. So for, open days and sharing the buildings that we have. And so jumping back to that, I've done a lot of open days for clients with occupants, like, oh, it's my house, I have to retrofit it to be my forever home and stuff. All good. But I think that for me, why it's so important to work on social housing and student houses as well is that if we can show them that this is available at a younger age, I actually think that it will lead to a big shift in society. Whereas, talking to people that are like 40, 50, it's okay, but there's less change coming out of there, right? So hopefully we can do even more. Like, there's already quite a few passive house primary, secondary, high schools. And I really want to thank you, Jesse, for the VN50, because I don't have the model open right now. But showing that change, showing that it is available, it's, for me, the younger we start, the more it's going to be, right? Like the more impact it will have.
I hope to have a generation of ungrumpy, healthy people, so that they're used to buildings that better, right, their social impact, their health impact, their cognitive skills. And so when they walk into the other buildings, they're oversensitized, and they said, we need to do something about it. And
notice the difference.
If there's anything that should have a new normal, it should be our experience in buildings. We're in them more and more. You can't show me data that says we're not. So
especially now.
Yeah. Beautiful building. I'm going to preach the beauty, because the beauty is not just the facade. The beauty is the experience of those occupants. Bless your heart.
Yeah, because everything we work on is actually hidden at the end, but and achieving that for me. So this is, for example, this is the first residence on campus, on the University of Toronto Scarborough campus. So for me, this is incredibly important as well. And it also sets a precedent where people say, oh, we can't do it in this climate, or we can't do it to this size, or we can't do it with this archetype. And you're literally removing so many barriers that things get easier afterwards, right? So for me, that, obviously in Vancouver and Victoria, I'm speaking mainly about Canada, but they have found that momentum about passive house and high performance building. In Toronto, we're getting there, but the momentum is still a bit slow. Like, I'm still a little bit scared, but if I stop pushing the ball up the mountain, we're rolling back the wrong way right now. And I'm going to work as hard as I can until we're right at the top. But this building will make such a difference. And there's a few other, I want to shout out to Humber College, and there are others out there, and the States as well, and the rest of the globe, literally. But there are these projects that can show that we have figured swimming pools, ice rink, fire station, you name it, labs and stuff. Like, we can do it, and we have to do it. So
is this privately funded or publicly funded?
I think it's a bit of both.
Okay. So
it's not just one or the other.
Yeah, and either way, it doesn't matter. But when you have a publicly funded building, if it's improving lives and using less energy, that's the new
Yeah.
staple. If someone wants to argue that point, you could stand in an uncomfortable, unhealthy building and argue, I'm going to be in the other building using less energy that people enjoy, and I'm not going to argue with you. Also, the recently in the headlines of what's happening in Canada, monumental strides to be a global leader in healthy buildings, and so the BC Step Code is reaching across, and a building like this, I mean, you better not put your email up, Maureen, because people are going to want this case study, and bless their hearts, because this is going to be replicated again and again. Unfortunately, you're not ahead of your time. This building is behind the times, right? We needed it before, and so now we got to grab hold, hug it, love it, and make more of them.
Love it. Love it. All right, listen, everybody, we are at an hour. I'm going to get here. We got a couple more comments that we're going to speed round. Well, we got one more comment, but I wanted to put this up here. Harvey did write, B.F. Skinner was the originator of behavior modification, operant conditioning, like Pavlov's dog, which was classic conditioning. So, all right, Harvey, thank you. We do appreciate. Harvey's got a mind, man. I can tell, right? There's some data inside that head. I can feel it just from his comments. And then I passed over one. I want you to answer it in a minute or less if you can. Maureen, here we go. It is Scott Farbman. He asked, do you find student housing to be one of the better project types for passive house due to the limited amount of kitchen, bathroom scope, and all the individual dorm rooms? So there you go. If we have any more questions after this, we'll answer them after the show. Thanks.
Okay, so 30-second tops. Yes, it is. If you don't have a gigantic commercial kitchen under it, which we have for both the Uvic project and the UTSC project. But all in all, it works still really, really well. And you have, waste heat that becomes available to get used around. So definitely the normal or the simple student residence archetype where you do not have a commercial kitchen, easy peasy. But one where you have a commercial kitchen, we've now done it enough time to start seeing what are the key strategies to handling that archetype. And quick note, because this one is just so easy, you want to know the easiest archetype, an archive center. And I do not understand why we don't do archive centers as passive houses. These are boxes that don't need windows. And when you don't have windows, you just have a really, really, really performing box that stays at the same temperature and humidity day in, day out throughout the year. Shout out to, one of my old colleagues in the UK, Nick Grant and Alan Clark. They've worked on some of these. And this is a thing of beauty where you build it and then it stays perfect. And you see people fighting with mold into their super precious archives just because they have bad buildings. And I'm like,
by archive, you mean like museum archive or paper archive or
anything,
any archive?
Yeah, any archive where you get to store things, because you can have a mini office, which is slightly more demanding. And then you can almost have like an archive that you leave on your own. The latest one they did in the UK, it did not even have a heating or cooling. Like, this is how simple it is, because it's a good box and it's really good at keeping what is inside, which is just what you need.
Isn't that the same?
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Dave.
Mark. What didn't Sean St. Amour do a project in Canada where they built a building and they put an ice cooler chest inside of it to see which piece of ice lasted the longest? Similar to what you're saying, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. I love it. I love
it. So Maureen, in a perfect world, I'm going to turn you on your head and put you on the spot with this one. Where will you be moving to next so you can work on archive buildings?
Well, I certainly do hope that there's enough archives here in Canada to do a few more and the States, okay? Because I'm not intending to go anywhere else, at least for a little while. So Canada, the States, get cozy because we're doing this.
Love it. Love it. Hey, Sean, welcome back, man. We wanted to bring you back in and thank you. And again, can you please put in the chat where one buys a complete matching suit and tie? I just noticed the tie.
If you have to ask where to get it, you can't get it. It's like the price of lobster at a good restaurant. Contact Sean Moore for all your style needs, or a helicopter ride.
Or a helicopter, right. I love it, dude. I'm gonna have to eat whatever vegetables you're eating because I'm just not getting the same nutrients you are.
Dave, you better be ready. It's quite a ride.
Yeah. Maureen, you are fantastic. I just love listening to you, your passion and just how smart you are. And I'm there helping pushing up the rock to make sure that all of our momentum doesn't come back on us. But you are monumentally holding that boulder and moving it up. So it is just fantastic, Maureen. Just again, we're lucky to have you in the industry.
Yeah, very much. So. You do have a lot of energy, and what did you say? I can't remember. Small, short. What did you introduced yourself as something? I'm like, I don't know. You seem as big as the universe to me on this show. So whatever you said, you were saying people think you're small, short, small, young, and short, or something like that. I'm going, I don't know. You don't seem like that on this show. You seem like you can control the world. And if somebody wants to argue with you, they better have some answers, is what I'm learning.
Oh yeah.
I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah, and honestly, hopefully during the Christmas break, you can relax a little bit because if for those that don't know Maureen, she will go to a conference, give a presentation, go out for beers, and then go back and work on modeling while we're still partying. Like she knows her priorities, and we are just lucky to have her working on these projects, and they're going to be exciting to see come up. And again, she'll be on a tour next year talking about how great they are and how we need to be doing more of these. So Maureen, you're just fantastic.
I love it.
Thank you,
listen,
I think that was an invitation, Dave. I think that was an invitation for you to take a trip over by there and do some recording of the projects. And Sean will meet you. And Maureen, you got the guy.
Dave, pick up Corbett's trailer, grab the trailer, and head out. And honestly, we can do a tour just like the Icebox Challenge. We can do it for sure.
Okay, listen, I'm in. I can tell you right now, just a few minutes for the show, I put my passports in our bag. So on our road trip, if the opportunity allows us, we are going to cross the border into Canada. 1, to play some hockey with my kids first, and then 2, we'll get into some building science while we're up there. But
absolutely, you're welcome.
You guys have been awesome. This has been a great show. I can't thank either of you enough. I love having you on. Sean, you're always a surprise, which is why we love having you on the show, and that's great. Mark, you do a really good job at finding these people. You hang out in some weird circles, man, but I think you're great.
I think we've established that our circles are funky, right?
Psychedelic.
With a PH, Sean.
Yeah. Like it's a fantastic place to be.
But Mark, you have to say that one of the best things out of all that, as much as, getting back to serious for just a second, but as much as what we're facing is actually pretty daunting, I have to say that the Passive House community is also one of the best things I've found in my life, because we do have a crazy challenge, but, Sean is also there for the rock. Everybody's there for this rock, pushing it forward. And for us to be able to count on each other and share what we found to keep going further, faster, better, like we couldn't do it without all of you guys. So,
Yeah, let's just keep spreading the word. And for all of those of you out there as well, please hit that like and share button. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you're not following Sean and Mark and Maureen, please do. And make sure you follow Passive House. And go ahead, Sean, give a plug to what you guys do real quick, because you have a show as well. And I think people out there, if they don't know it, they should know it right now. And then we're going to end this series.
Perfect. Thanks, Dave. If you guys want to hang out with with Mark and myself on Tuesday, Passive House Accelerator, Construction Tech, we talk about the technology, and the techniques. It's fun. So lots of opportunity to learn and hang out and enjoy.
That's it. I love it. And here as well, on Dave Cooper Live, we're bringing you the people and the processes that are building it better. Our topics include experts in building systems, to building science, to building codes, to the tech used to build it better. And today was no different. Thank you so much, Maureen. Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much, Sean. We will see you guys tomorrow, 9-ish, Coffee with Dave. And I will be in Pittsburgh, probably streaming live from Salvage Pittsburgh, an architectural reclamation that actually goes in and saves all the old stuff, which is wonderful, and repurposes it. So
high five to Brian Cooper and all the work he does at PGH Salvage.
I love it. All right, everybody have yourself a wonderful day. We will see you tomorrow, and again all week next week. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
You guys hang tight.